This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Hey, good morning. Welcome on to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. I am meteorologist Evan Thomason. You'll see me here in just a moment. But let's get to the main headline here for the day today, which is rain once more. We'll say we've had quite a week of weather headlines around the Arklatex period around the region. It has been started off with 2 extremely hot days. Now we've rolled into 2 rainy days here between Wednesday and Thursday. Granted, so far this morning, rain coverage has been a little lackluster, which has left us for mostly dry conditions around the region, although there's been a few areas with some drizzles, even a few areas with some heavy rainfall as well into the early morning hours. But it was only for a select few of us overall. We're still holding on to mostly dry conditions here for now. But that could change here in just a little while. Welcome on to the full Weather Breakdown podcast. Again, hey, I am meteorologist Evan Thomason. Welcome on to our show. It is 10:30, time for Weather Breakdown. It's good to be back as well. CJ hosted over the last 2 days, and I'm rolling back in the saddle here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. So again, welcome all to your Thursday. Just 2 days left in the work week, and I really think, I said this earlier this week, I think back on Monday and Tuesday, and this is the thing. I know the forecast kind of fluctuates from time to time, especially as we get closer to certain days, but I truly believed what I said back on Monday and Tuesday for this coming weekend, that this coming Saturday and Sunday was going to be some of the best weather that we really see all week. I think that's still standing true. Again, this has been nothing but a work week of weather headlines. We had the extreme heat to start off the week here on Monday and Tuesday. I know some of you have appreciated the rain, especially while we can get it in the summer months here between yesterday and now today. We'll get into the rain coverage today in just a little bit. But now, heading into Friday and the weekend, we get that beautiful sunshine working back on in here, and the extreme heat should still be at bay for quite some time. If anything, we could get even cooler next week than we are right now. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. We ran stories this morning on the Dunkin' Pumpkin Spice lineup, and also on, I think somebody else was rolling out pumpkin and fall things, essentially. It's probably Starbucks or somebody else like that. But the point is, we're rolling out the carpet for some fall-like conditions. Now, around the Arklatex, it's too good. It's always too soon to be true when it comes to fall kind of weather. But at least it appears that we will have a nice taste of what fall could be to come for next week. I already got the question once, like, Evan, is this the real start of fall? Is it coming next week? No. Labor Day hasn't even hit us yet. Labor Day is obviously kind of the unofficial end to summer, but you know that in the Arklatex, that's not really the case. We still have to usually get through the entire month of September, and sometimes even Halloween can sometimes be still filled with lots of humidity and lots of heat. But hey, we'll take whatever we can get, especially here for next work week. We're going to be talking all about that in our full rundown here for the day today. This is the list of topics that we got coming on. We, of course, go over your full local forecast. It will be cooler. It will be rainy. That's our main headlines here. Let's still break down a little bit of some heat and sunshine working into that as well here in just a little bit. And then for exclusive content here for the day today, we have Jake Lambright. Here is with KALB, our sister station, over in Alexandria, Louisiana, just down the road on I-49 off to our southeast. So we'll be talking about some recent trends between the two of our areas, between the heat, the humidity, the stormy pattern as well. I will say, I'll talk about this with him later. And to be fair, this is just getting into the start of like the peak hurricane season. But I feel like we've already had a good amount of more substantial pop-up rainy days this year than what we had last year. I just remember, I think we had a storm last year. I forget what it was. I think it was Francine that had like our entire month's supply of rainfall in one day last September. So the point is, we kind of take these rainy days when we can get them, especially during the summer months, to not kind of run down the drought train, essentially, around the region. So let's get back into the weather graphics, and let me set that up here for you. I got to click a lot of buttons here by myself behind the scenes to get the full setup here for you. But we are starting along with a mostly beautiful day. We've had some passing clouds on this camera earlier. We did see a brief downpour just barely grazed the northern end of Shreveport and Bossier, but it didn't roll into downtown itself. Now we're actually rolling out some beautiful blue skies, and you can only see even some high-level cloud cover for yourself there, looking up north of town for the moment. This is a live look at Texarkana on the northern end of the Arklatex as well. Kind of a similar outlook. Lots of blue skies, sunshine, but, I mean, it's not completely sunny. And around with some high-level cloud cover, you can kind of see, like, that blanket-like effect of the clouds from the higher levels rolling across our window world camera there. But regardless of whatever you think it might be here for the day today, starting with lower humidity levels, a little bit of some slightly cooler temps around for the start to the day today, you don't want to forget the rain gear on the way for the afternoon hours, because likewise, the same thing happens again, where we start off the morning with a mostly dry outlook for a good portion of us. Then the summer heat of the afternoon really ramps up, and that will essentially spark onto several of those storms here for the afternoon. So when you're picking up those kiddos from school, when you're driving home from work, not only remembering all the rain gear for yourself and for your family members as well, but also giving yourself some extra time to accommodate for the rain being around. But, hey, it's only around for one more day. We got warm conditions around on top of that as well. It is not hot conditions, certainly much cooler than what it was earlier this week. We have had a good cool down ever since Tuesday with that excessive heat warning that was on tap for us earlier this week. Then in time for Friday and the weekend, beautiful sunshine ahead for you. But next work week, we seriously rolling in a good cool down. That will come at the cost of some rain showers as well, which will, replenish us and keep us further out of drought. Here's a big picture of things of what's going to happen. We love to go into the kind of scientific means of things a little bit more on the first look with a breakdown here. So here's what happens. We're curling around with the jet stream here, and most importantly, this high-pressure system is off to our west here for the start of the day today. And watch that jet stream here very closely. I know sometimes you get a little confused in the weather pattern overall, and this gets a little more, for those of you that not too much into the scientific parts of things, all you needed to pay attention to was this jet stream coming out of the north. It is still coming out of the north into the Arklatex here all the way through the weekend. Now, it's going to heat up between now and the weekend, but that's because mainly the sunshine's coming back out here for a good portion of the weekend ahead. But the jet stream coming out of the north is going to sincerely continue to drop our humidity levels. It's going to be feeling so much nicer, especially with this continued wind out of the north. You're essentially getting that rocky, I wouldn't say cold air, but that dry, rocky mountain air essentially working its way into the Arklatex here. And this is even a trend that still could continue with the jet stream into the middle part of next week. Now, the humidity is expected to increase next week, but that's mostly because we're bringing back in a cold front, which, as you know, usually brings in storms, and it's going to bring in some rain, which automatically just increases the humidity. But the point is, much cooler temperatures in store here for the day today. So let's talk temperatures first. 86 at Shreveport, 87 for Texarkana. Now, again, it's still a hot day, but it's not an extremely hot day where we're running off the charts and threatening any records. 92 is it feels like temperature in Texarkana, 92 and for Shreveport, 89 for Natchitoches. This is the first day since, I counted the streak, but I forget what day it is. I think this is the first time since not this previous Tuesday, but 2 Tuesdays ago, where we don't have a heat advisory in effect around here. Hey, we've got to be doing something right when we're doing that around the region. And you would be correct, although, again, it is still a hot day per se. 94 in Texarkana, 94 in Foreman, 93 in DeKalb. But to be fair, actually the northern half of the Arklatex is looking like the hottest portion of the entire region. Check out these highs in East Texas, including Marshall at 89 degrees. That's Jake's hometown, who's quietly watching me on the sidelines here. 93 in Dangerfield, 87 in Center in Northwest Louisiana, 92 in Shreveport. But hey, the rest of Northwest Louisiana looking like highs in the upper 80s, if that. 85 in Bienville here for this afternoon. Now, the feels like temperatures here for this afternoon. Let me back up a little bit on this. Some of the feels like temperatures still could technically reach the triple digits here later on this afternoon. Again, mainly because we do have a good substantial humidity in here, and still the heat is getting us with highs reaching around 90 degrees. So, again, essentially, it's still going to be hot this afternoon, but not as dangerously hot as what it was earlier this week. Then, that's going to continue to ride a nice cool down into tomorrow here for the most part. I will say, again, temperatures reaching around the mid to upper 90s here for the most part tomorrow. Maybe taking a degree or two drop in the feels like temperatures here for your Friday. And most of that is because we're dropping the humidity levels. Again, we're rising the temperatures in the weekend, but our humidity's dropping quite a bit. In fact, this is the first time I've seen this in quite some time where we actually might have the muggy meter in the comfortable range for once around the region. And this trend continues on. Again, we have another cold front hitting us next week, and that could bring us cooler than average temperatures. Just so you know, on a typical summer day, this is that map is always bright orange, which indicates hotter than average temperature. So a nice welcome little treat to some fall there for you. All right, on our first look Doppler radar here, we got some rain showers across the western edge of the Arklatex, hitting out towards Tatum, essentially. These storms are continuing to move southward. It looks like some of them are trying to curl a little bit eastward there through, I believe that's Rusk County, just west of Laneville. That's going to be continuing southward. You can kind of see the trajectory on the loop down towards Nacogdoches here for the meantime. Besides that storm, that's really all we're looking at. That's a huge cluster of cells that's being put together that's moving down southbound there. But besides that, most of our Doppler radar just filled with maybe a brief light drizzle, especially around like El Dorado, maybe that's not Webster Parish, out towards Homer there for you, south of El Dorado. But the point is, we are, for now, dry, but that's not going to last here for the time being. We are expected to pop up storms, and most of our future tracks kind of indicate this right along the I-20 corridor here for you before driving a little bit southward in areas of Nacogdoches and Natchitoches later on this afternoon and evening. Kind of going by that swipe here one more time here for you. Again, there are other future tracks that kind of showcase the same thing, where we have most of the storm activity along and south of the I-20 corridor here for this afternoon. And then the rest of the future track parts ways here for the most part. Maybe a brief shower in the southern end of the Arklatex here for tomorrow, but that's it. We're done with the rain Friday through the weekend. In fact, not even much in terms of cloud cover. It looks like it's forming here for the weekend as well. So speaking of the weekend, beautiful, hot. 97, 98, but the humidity will be down there. So a little deceiving, because usually when you see this on a summer kind of weekend, this indicates extremely hot weather around. And to be fair, again, the heat gets up there, but the humidity will be low, much lower. All right, before our 7-day forecast here, this is the last thing I want to go over. First alert, check to your tropics here. This is a live look at Hurricane Aaron. It was as close as it was going to be early this morning as a Cat 2. And it continues to meander up north and east, slowly but surely losing its maximum wind speed. Now, first of all, you can see how big this system is, obviously indicating lots of building showers and storms and that huge convection, which if you put that right on top of the northeast, that pretty much covers most of the states up there. But thankfully, this entire course is running offshore. Now, you're getting some strong wind gusts. You're also getting some strong rip currents on the east coast as well. But out beside the beaches, you're not seeing too much. All right, now I actually meant to update this map before I came onto this podcast, but essentially we are hanging around with 3 areas of interest. Let me move my camera actually out of the way so you can see the full thing. There we go. 70% chance for an area of interest to follow in behind Aaron. That would become the next name Ferdinand, potentially. My main eye is on that area of interest that's at a 40% chance, which is further out towards Africa here at this point in time. And a little tiny yellow circle, which would technically develop and go eastward, not really impacting too much anybody around here, around the United States. There's about a 30% chance of an area of interest. Again, my focus, if anything, is on that 40% area of interest, that little orange shade. That would have the only chance of potentially getting into the Gulf, but still long ways away to track that system out. Lastly, 7-day forecast, 30% chance of storms here for today. Lots of sunshine around for the next several days following today before we do get rain back early next week. And check out the highs next week. 80s next week. Mid-80s at that, and it's going to look to probably hang around and maybe even Thursday and Friday of next week. We'll see. I don't know, but we'll keep you first alert. All I know is that next week, so much cooler, nice taste of fall, so to speak, for you. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, take a minute break. When we come back with Jake, he's on the line, and we'll speak with you guys then about all the trends that have been happening locally around Alexandria, around around Senla, Getting used to saying that word. And also around the Arklatex as well. We'll break it all down for you coming up after this. Hey, welcome on back. It is First Alert with a Breakdown time still. Thanks for joining us for the full local forecast, especially those of you joining on YouTube. I don't see any comments yet, but hey, we had some good activity over there, but we are not done. We still have had Jake patiently waiting on the other line. Thanks for coming on. Jake Lambright with KALB, our sister station over in Alexandria, Louisiana. First of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. Great to have you on. I know it's been a little while. I know, as you kind of mentioned last time, your roots are kind of from Marshall, Texas as well, right here in the Arklatex, so you know this area very well. Now, we've had some big heat trends, especially recently, along with some pop-up storms around the Arklatex. To be fair, when I first, I guess, think of the summer, it hasn't been nearly as hot as other previous months, but especially recently, we've seen 100-degree days definitely ramp up in our minds around both my area and yours in Alexandria. I guess my first question is to you is to what have you seen, especially with the extreme heat, especially around Alexandria and specifically further into Louisiana?
I mean, this summer actually has been pretty good to us, knock on wood. I remember 2 years ago, the heat was brutal. In fact, looking at the almanac data these past couple days or past couple weeks even, the records have been from 2023, 105, 108. We even tied the all-time record of 110 back in 23. So very thankful. So far this year, we only, at the Alexandria airport specifically, only recorded one 100-degree day officially. So it's been pretty nice for us so far.
Oh, that's fantastic. But you say 110 degrees? I'm just making sure I heard that right.
Yes, 110 degrees. It's hard to even imagine, but that was a pretty brutal summer when it came to the heat.
Jeez, my goodness gracious. I know that's been like a recent trend as well for the last week or so, but thankfully we're kind of riding on the better side of in trend of things. I don't remember the last time I've seen a cooler than average temperature map 2 weeks from now, but it's nice welcome here for the season of fall. I guess my question to you as well for that is, how is that affecting your temperatures, it looks like, for next week? Do you find yourself also going down to the 80s here and coming up eventually?
I do. In fact, yesterday with my 7 days specifically, I had, I think, mid 90s for Monday and Tuesday, but I did put upper 80s in there for Wednesday. Really going to have to fine tune. I know beyond that 7 day period, things get a little fuzzy. But as of when I was forecasting yesterday evening, I was leaning toward putting maybe Thursday and Friday in the upper 80s too. And that, along with the drier air, should make a pretty big difference around our area.
Yes, the drier air is the main thing. As I kind of hinted at the whole weather pattern, I mean, it seems like we're getting a persistent wind out of the north, thanks to high pressure actually not nagging us and staying off to our west here for a good portion of time around the Arklatex. Now that's kind of kept storms at bay, or I guess we've had storms around here. A good bit more than I think usually, especially here for summer standards. I'm not sure. I'm going to admit, I haven't checked the drought monitor, especially recently in the last 2 days or so, but I remember it being pretty good, I think at least for summer standards. How's it for your jurisdiction?
I know, so the new drought monitor just came out this morning, and I didn't put the parish overlay on, and I was looking at it on my phone, so I can't speak a lot to it. But with that said, I don't think we have D1 drought conditions, or I believe what they call moderate level drought anywhere in our area. So that's good. So we're kind of, a few areas in the state I know are seeing dry or D0, which is kind of like a pre-drought indicator. But thankfully, with the rains that we've received as well, not looking at any kind of crazy drought conditions so far.
Yeah, it's been pop-up storms like crazy, especially I've heard further down south. I think I remember reporting that like a week or two ago, especially around areas further south, like Lafayette, New Orleans, those kind of areas. And I know, yeah, some of that's dragged up into your area, and just a few of that's dragged up into ours as well. But I guess moving on to our last topic around was just mainly the tropics, hanging around with that. Thankfully, the Gulf has been nice and quiet. Aaron has obviously had many impacts on our mind, and thankfully, long term, it doesn't look too obnoxiously bad. Again, my eyes are on that little 40% area of interest just coming off of Africa. I'm not sure. Are you looking at the same area of interest? I think there's also maybe a chance of formation in the Caribbean Sea coming up here, too.
Yes, definitely looking at that area. It does look like for now maybe it's leaning toward taking kind of a similar track to Aaron and potentially Fernand. But with that said, you know how models can get, especially beyond that 7-day period. So having a little trouble buying the steering pattern this far out, but certainly hoping for the best with that wave a little closer to Africa. And then, like you said, I noticed the Climate Prediction Center highlighted a low chance for us having at least the right atmospheric ingredients in place to support maybe some tropical development here in a couple weeks. So we'll have to watch that pretty closely, but hopefully, fingers crossed, things can stay quiet for us along the Gulf Coast.
I hope so, but hey, we'll at least take it for the rest of August. I know the statistic of 2/3 of hurricanes usually occur in between August 20th, which was just yesterday, and I think it's October 10th. So we still got a obviously whole month and a half ahead of us. And I will say this has been less of a busy season starting out than what happened last year, especially with Beryl. Now, I didn't have a chance to talk with you about the Beryl impacts. And I know I'm kind of putting this on the spot because I realized that I never talked about this beforehand with you. But what do you remember out of Beryl from last year, especially with the tropical impacts that can affect areas like Senla?
Thankfully, with Beryl, we didn't see a ton when it came to flooding, keeping that eye wall on the other side of the state line. But being on what I guess we as meteorologists consider the dirty side of the storm, we saw lots of severe weather out of it. Not anything compared to what y'all saw. I think y'all had between 60 and 70 tornado warnings.
It was, I think it was 64 was the number it ended up being, which was an incredible amount. And I think that ended up accompanying 43 confirmed tornadoes, which I always round of applause to the National Weather Service for that.
Yes, that, like I said, we had barely anything compared to y'all. We had a lot of tornado warnings. I think we ended up with 16, 1 or 2 in Vernon Parish, and then the majority of them really fell across portions of Sabine and Natchitoches Parish. I think we had a couple in Wynn Parish as well. And it was surprising, too, because usually with tropical systems like Beryl, you get a couple tornadoes that spin up out of it. I've never, at least in my time in meteorology, not to say it's never happened, but I've never heard of that many, not just tornado warnings, but confirmed tornadoes. And some of them too, I mean, with tropical systems, it's hard to pick out rotation. Sometimes things spin up very quickly and die down, but we saw very defined areas of rotation and very defined debris signatures on the radar with some of those storms too. And not something that you want to see, but from a meteorological standpoint, it's just fascinating because it's not something that you see every day with these tropical systems.
No, usually you see kind of headlines of what we've dealt with even in storms early this year in different spots, such as all the flooding that happened in central Texas. That was from the remnants of Barry coming on through. Usually I associate, as I said, flash flooding, huge amounts of tropical moisture with systems that come on shore, and it ends up providing almost an incredibly rainy day for areas around the Arklatex, and I bet for Senla as well. It was interesting last year. I also kind of compare this to what happened with Milton. If you remember, I think the Florida Peninsula got hammered with lots of tornado warnings as well from that major hurricane too. It was like a day before it even made landfall. So a little interesting, and I'll have to monitor tornado issues ongoing with any tropical system that comes on shore from now on, because especially with Beryl last year, it was only a month into my job here, and it was quite a wake-up call. I'm just going to say that. So it was wild.
Yes, I hope we don't see anything like Beryl anytime soon, because that definitely kept everybody on their toes for sure.
Yeah. I think the last question I got for you is, you said just there's been minuscule stuff on the drought monitor. Obviously, we still have a good amount of summer months to get through. fall kind of just ends up around here being somewhere around Halloween. So what weather-wise do you kind of, I guess, what do you want out of the weather locally in Alexandria and Senla to be able to kind of get yourself out of the drought monitor, but not really have like the whole tropical system that comes through and that just floods out your entire area? Are you trying to find like a happy medium?
I am. It would be nice to see a couple more days where we have more scattered to widespread rain activity. I think that would help us out. We actually, in the month of June, were a little bit below where we should be for rainfall for that month. And we actually started out August that way as well. In fact, in June, we were nearly 2 inches below where we should be. With that said, we have caught up at the airport officially, and we're now a little bit over where we should be for August. So that's a good problem to have. And still over on rainfall for the year as well. So just enough to kind of keep the drought or keep the ground from drying out would be nice to see as we go through these next couple weeks.
I feel like we had that problem here locally in the Arklatex as well, where the ground dried out too much, and it also helped to amplify our heat and our high temperatures as well here locally. Just that the ground was reflecting a lot more sunlight to be able to heat up the air, essentially. But anyways, thank you very much, Jake, for speaking with me here today. You got anything else? Any parting words? As I said, I know you're from Marshall, Texas, right?
I am. Yes, thankfully, weather-wise, things have been pretty good in Marshall recently. I keep close tabs on the weather. I got to keep my mom informed and my family when severe weather's going their way. So thankfully, I haven't really had to have to stay in contact with my mom much regarding the weather. Of course, I stay in touch with her all the time. We talked a little bit before I hopped on the podcast here, but I think it's been June since we saw any kind of decent severe weather threat out in the Arklatex. So glad things have stayed pretty quiet.
Yeah. It's been nice. It's been a nice off season, I guess, so to speak, in that regard. But hey, whenever I feel like you become a meteorologist, period, you're just the meteorologist for the family, and everybody just asks you questions all around that. So,
absolutely,
I get it all the time. But anyways, thank you very much for joining us, Jake. Appreciate it, and thank you very much for watching the First Alert Weather Breakdown here for the day today. Our next episode will be on again tomorrow. 10:30. We will see you then. We'll have the weekend forecast for you in store, a lot more in depth, especially for regional areas like Jake and Alexandria, or if you're traveling out to New Orleans or Dallas, we'll have that full regional rundown forecast there for you. Again, on First Alert Weather Breakdown tomorrow. As for us here for today, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Be there, be square, and most importantly, stay weather aware. Have a great rest of your Thursday. 2 days left. Get through the rain today. You can do it. Peace out.